What is up, Heads Up Play podcast? I am Sam the Sweaty Boy. Joining me here today is Mr. Cowboy coming in from the wild, wild west of Dothan, Alabama. That's
Yep.
actually pretty far east, but we're here. This is not the full podcast that will come out here probably pretty much same time as this here video that we're doing. This is a Heads Up Play SEC hoops preview for the 2023/24 season. I just thought we would run through some of the teams, give our predictions for who's going to win the SEC, what teams are going to be competing the most, and go from there. Cowboy, I think it's really going to be quite an interesting season. A lot of teams that were probably really good last season will probably may make leaps and bounds to be even better than they were, and some might slip to the back.
No, I totally agree. I think we're going to have a lot of good teams coming up. I'm very excited for this. Heads Up Play podcast listeners, I know it sounds like I'm a big college football fan, but actually I love me some college basketball. That is my favorite time of the year. That's when you can see the real fans go crazy. I love college basketball. You know, we got 14 teams. I think that's going to be crazy this year. I think it's going to be insane. We got a lot of good teams. I saw Joe Lenardi, the bracketology. I want to say the SEC was tied for the most in to have the most conference teams in the tournament.
Really?
They had eight, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my top 8 right now, and some on the outside. All could most certainly make it. I think
I'm going to say, my top
SEC,
8. I mean,
yeah. Well,
I think it's going to be a very good team.
I'll go ahead and give my 14-1 here, and then you can give yours. At number 14, and really all the bottom half of mine, 7 through 14, you really can kind of put them in any order, to be honest with you.
I agree.
But
especially with the 10 between 14, they can go
either way. And so at number 14, it might have just been me out of spite, but I put the Georgia Bulldogs at number 14. I don't really see them doing much this season. Same with South Carolina at 13. I've got LSU at 12, Vandy at 11. I put Florida at 10, and then down Missouri at 9, Ole Miss at 8. Mississippi State, I think that they can do something at 7. And then getting into that upper half of the SEC, mine probably differs from yours a little bit, but maybe not too much. I've got Auburn at number 6. I've got Kentucky at 5. A&M at 4. I know a lot of people are probably predicting them to win the SEC. I have them at 4. I've got Bama at 3. Seems every year Bama gets picked number 5th, and I believe Nate Oates kind of made a point to that in a press conference recently. I've got Tennessee at 2, and I've got the wild card Arkansas at number 1.
I like Musselman. He's a good coach.
I do too. I think they have had some big moments, and I think this might be the year that they finally win it all in the SEC.
I could see it. Arkansas is very good. They done very well in the portal. They did really good recruiting wise. Arkansas is going to be good this year. We are very close. We have the same exact teams in our top 6. Like you said, the top 7 through 14 it can be really whoever. And the top 6 is it's weird. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying the 7 and 14 to 7s are bad teams. They're just not strong like these 1 through 6. 1 through 6 are good teams. Like these are teams that I can see any of these 6 winning a Big Ten or not the ACC by chance, but I could see them easily winning the Pac-12, Big Ten easily. I think these teams are good.
To your point, just as any of the bottom 6 could go in any place, the top 6 really. I mean, Auburn could be number 1. They really could be. You know, it is going to be an interesting season, and I hope it does end up being that way and not just another, one team runs the table the entire time. But who knows? But give me what you got.
All right, so I had the 14. I went with South Carolina. I'm not a big fan of their head coach, Lamont Paris. He's in his 2nd year from Chattanooga. I just don't think they're good. They got a really tough non-conference with Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Notre Dame. I don't know. 13, I got LSU. It was a toss-up between them and Georgia for 12 and 13, for my reasoning. LSU, their top 3 scorers from last year are out. They're gone. So trying to subtract that, I mean, find those scores like that, and I'm gonna tell you, I think they whiffed on the hire after Will Wade finally got fired for being a crook. I think they whiffed on the hire from Matt McCannon. I might mispronouncing that. Don't judge me. From Murray State. 12. I got Georgia. Mike White, second year from Florida. Still a shock that Mike White left Florida to go to Georgia. I mean, that's
big shock. That was interesting for sure.
That's almost kind of like watching Nate Oates go to replace Bruce Pearl. Like, I mean, that's a rivalry right there. 11. I think I got Ole Miss with Chris Beard. There's only 2 first-year coaches, but Chris Beard's a good coach. Like, Ole Miss getting Chris Beard, that's who they should have got. I mean, he was at Texas at the time due to the circumstance, but that's as good as you can get as a replacement for Andy Kennedy. 10, Vanderbilt with Jerry Stackhouse. I think this might actually be the year Stackhouse gets fired. I just don't think Vandy is going to do enough to keep him. I mean, he's not going to do enough for Vandy to want to keep him. 9, I got the Gators of Florida with Todd Golden, second year from Sanford. There's a lot of year 2. I've noticed with the SEC basketball, it's like everybody fires their coaches at the same time. It's like you get these.
It's very much a wave in the SEC.
Yes.
And it seems like the same coaches will stick around for 4 or 5 years, and then we'll get another wave. And you're right. It's
very rare. We only got two brand new coaches this year. But I'm got Florida at 9, 8. I got Missouri, who was possibly there was no possible. They were the best sleeper team in the SEC last year. Dennis Gate, he's a good coach. He year 2 from Cleveland State. 7, I actually have the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. I think that's my
my 7 too.
6, I have the Auburn Tigers.
Okay.
5, I have Kentucky.
Okay.
This is when me and you are a little bit different. I have Bama at 4.
Okay.
A&M at 3, Arkansas at 2, and Tennessee at 1. But I truly think I'm not going to throw Auburn and Kentucky in there just because I don't think that. I think they're really good teams, but I just don't think they can take the SEC. Between A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee, I think could win the SEC this year.
Yeah, I think Auburn. Will be really good. You get Jani Broome back. You got transfer Denver Jones from FIU, who's probably going to be pretty good. But all in all, I don't think that they really worked enough. They lost a number of guys, so I don't think that Bruce Pearl is. I think he's probably gotten his really, really good period of Auburn basketball there in 2019, 2018. But and I think that he will stay there for a long, long time, and he will continue to.
It's crazy to think he's in his 10th year at Auburn.
I know that's just crazy.
Doesn't feel right.
It still feels like he's been there 4 or 5 years. I mean, 2019. I mean, that felt like just a couple years ago. It's pretty insane. And then who did you have at your number 5? Kentucky as well.
I had Kentucky. I think
Kentucky at 5, and then you had Bama at 4, A&M at 3, Arkansas 2, and Tennessee 1.
Yeah,
I like Tennessee as well. I know a lot of people are picking them at number 1. Also, because they've had really good recruiting within the past few years. I mean, multiple top 10 classes. Santiago Vescovi is
they got some of the best players. They got some of the. I mean, 2 of the best players in the country. Rick Barnes, in my opinion, he does not get enough credit as the best SEC
really good
coach.
He is.
I would you always hear the debates: is Pearl or Nate Oates or Musselman? I'm not saying they're bad coaches at all, but Rick Barnes he's good at tennis. Since he's in year 9 too. It's kind of crazy to think that.
Yeah. Where are we sitting at with Nate Oates? He's sitting at what, year number 5 now already? He was hired in 2018, I believe.
Well, let me tell you, year 5 coaches are. It's crazy because they're the second most tenured. Well, it goes the most tenured is Calipari 15, Pearl at 10, Barnes at 9, and then year 5 coaches are Musselman, Buzz Williams, Nate Oates, and Stackhouse. And then it goes down to year 2 coaches.
That's a big drop off.
It's always a big. Well, tell me if
Yeah,
I'm wrong, but was Rick Barnes not hired in that whole coaching class with Avery Bradley? No, Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson. Yeah, I think he was.
Because it was him, Rick Barnes, and then Ben Howland at Mississippi State.
Let me look up Rick Barnes' first season at Tennessee. He started. He's came from Texas 2015, so he's been there. Yeah, eight years now. This is his eighth season. Yeah, and I mean he's sitting at a 657 overall win percentage in his entire coaching career, 779 and 406. That's a lot of coaching. He's been around for a long time.
That's a lot.
And yeah, he's been around a very long time, and he's done for Tennessee. He's done well, and I do think that Arkansas. That's my pick to win the SEC. But I do think that you're right. Tennessee this could be the year that they take the SEC, because I'm looking. When was the last time Tennessee won the SEC?
Ooh, let me look. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it was just recent though.
All right, let's see. Tennessee last won the conference regular season in 2018. So
that's right.
And then the conference tournament they won it in 2022.
They did. Did they? That was Auburn got knocked out. That's right. Mm-hmm. Auburn got knocked out. Who did Auburn lose to in 2022?
Oh man, I can't remember.
We lost the Vandy. Yeah. I know that.
I can't remember who Auburn lost to, but let's talk a little bit about Kentucky. Kentucky continues to have great recruiting classes. Yep. They're getting like consistent top of the line recruits right there with Duke, North Carolina, Kansas. They are a blue blood, but they have not won a national championship since 2012. And Calipari, great coach. He really is. But are we starting to question him a little bit? It is much harder to win in basketball. And I think a lot of times some of us who pay a lot of attention to college football kind of look at college basketball in the same light, when you really can't, because it is harder to win on the big stage and the tournaments and stuff. But is he living up currently to the Kentucky standard, or has the Kentucky standard maybe lowered a little bit since he's been there?
I don't know. Kentucky has not felt good. I mean, in my opinion, the last 3 years, I mean, he was 19-6 in 2020.
Yep.
A terrible season. He went 26-8, 2021, 2022 season, which was not bad, but you end up losing to the Cinderella team of St. Peter's.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year, I mean, went 22-12. I mean, when you're getting the recruits that you're getting, and he didn't beat you. You didn't beat the Bamas. You didn't beat the.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just they're not the powerhouse like they used to be. I mean, I remember being a young Bama fan. You was terrified to play Kentucky. Like you already knew you would think, okay, I'm gonna be 20-2, and the two losses was gonna be against Kentucky. Like you were ready to lose to Kentucky. You were gonna lose to. It was a given. You was gonna lose to Kentucky. Now, I'm upset if we can't beat Kentucky. I mean, I've been to a Bama-Kentucky game. Those games, they used to be wild. They go intense.
I remember I think it was maybe 2012 or so. Alabama pulled a big upset against them. You're good. Alabama pulled it with Anthony Grant, and Alabama. It was a huge deal because Alabama would rarely ever beat Kentucky, especially when Kentucky was good. So you're right. I mean, it does seem like that aura of Kentucky has kind of diminished a little bit compared to what they had just a decade ago.
I feel like, really, to be honest, besides the Auburn-Alabama rivalry in college basketball, I feel like there's a rivalry between Alabama and Arkansas. I feel like that's probably the biggest rivalry in college basketball right now. One of the biggest.
Yeah.
Not the Duke, North Carolina, but of course, in the SEC at least.
I give Arkansas credit. I mean, that Arkansas-Alabama game in Arkansas last year, their fans went nuts.
Oh,
I mean, it's fun to see a team like Arkansas, who historically their best sport is track and field, have a sport that means something, and no offense to track and track and field fans, but
you can just run better than me.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not too much better.
right. But I mean, like to watch them go crazy against Alabama, and that was a really, really good game too. Yeah, I agree that I think that might be developing into a good rivalry. If Nate Oates and Musselman stick around, I think they'll both continue to be very good, and it could develop into something good.
But go back to Kentucky, looking at their non-conference, I don't know if I mean, when they do play a non-conference, they got tough. I mean, they play Kansas, but it's at Kentucky, who I think I got Kansas not winning it all, but I got them going deep. They got a really good team. They got Stonehill, St. Joseph, Marshall. They do play Miami, at Kentucky, and then they play at UNC. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kentucky, I do think they're going to bounce back this year. I do. I don't think you can keep a sleeping dog because I'm going to be honest. If they don't go far in the tournament this year, I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if Calipari gets fired or he resigns.
No, I agree, and it would be kind of a shame because he is a very good coach. He has won them a national championship, but it's been over a decade now. And Kentucky fans are like Alabama fans. They demand to be at the top every single year. So it'll definitely be interesting to see, if they're not able to compete for at least an SEC championship. I do think that he will be sitting with probably a red hot booty near the end of the basketball season. But to talk about someone who most definitely is not on the hot seat, had a fantastic season last year, didn't end the way that we wanted it to in the tournament, the NCAA tournament, that is. But you were regular season champions of the SEC, not picked to be that preseason. Showed everybody wrong. A little bit of drama with who is probably the greatest player in program history now. Alabama, picked to go, probably picked by many to be fifth or around there. I picked them third. You picked them fourth. What are we feeling about the Tide this season?
See, I think the Tide, it's either going to be a really good season or a really bad season because and I know you can say, well, of course, but we got a lot of transfers and we had to rebuild the roster. We had to rebuild the roster this year. There's a boy, look out for him, from North Dakota State. I've been high on him all preseason. Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson is him and Aaron Estrada.
Yeah,
Aaron Estrada from Hofstra, number 55. When you got a guard that's number 55, that's weird to see, but he's going to be good. You got Mark Sears coming back. You got these two freshmen. You got a freshman, Sam Walter, who can shoot the lights out of him from Florida. You got a really good team, I think. You got a boy from Latrell Wright Jr. I forgot what Cal Fulton State or
Cal
something.
State Fulton.
Yes, that's right. He's going to be good. This is going to be tough for Nate Oates. People don't really look at it, but if you look from behind the scenes, he lost all of his assistant coaches this year.
Yeah. This is going to be a big change there by the side of the court for sure.
And, people say, well, Nate Oates was the real mind behind it. I don't know. Did you see Brian Hodgson? He got a head coaching job at Arkansas State. He just landed a 4-star recruit at Arkansas State. I mean, the man can recruit. But, I mean, we got good. We got Nicholls State's head coach. He had a head coaching position and left to be an assistant at Bama. We got him. We got the Birmingham Strawdrons old head coach. And we got good assistants. I think we're going to be fine. Bama, in my opinion, has the toughest non-conference schedule in all of the land. They got, of course, they start tomorrow with Morehead State. They got the Sycamores of Indiana State. They haven't been nothing since Larry Board. You got South Alabama Jaguars. They're never a team to sleep on in the Sun Belt. I mean, South Alabama, they
always play the SEC really hard.
They was in the Sun Belt championship last year. They played Ohio State, Clemson, a team they have in the tournament. Ohio State, a team they have in the tournament. They got Arkansas State, who we just talked about. You got the number 3 team in Purdue. You got the number 8 team, Creighton, in Arizona. Mind you, you're playing.
That's going to be a 3-game stretch of really tough opponents.
I mean, you're playing
Purdue's
at
getting
Creighton
Zach
and
Edey back.
I'm telling you, And then you look at the season schedule. You got to play at Tennessee. You got to play at Georgia. You got to play at Auburn. Playing Auburn twice. You got to play at Kentucky. That's your 1 year this year. Like
Mm-hmm.
we got a tough schedule this year. I
Yeah.
don't think this is going to be the team because you remember it's weird because that second season of Nate Oates when they went to the Sweet 16 and then the next season they didn't make it out of the round of 64 and got beat by Notre Dame. I don't think it's going to be a repeat of that next year. This year, I mean. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a good team. I think we'll finish. Well, I could see us possibly being a fifth or a fourth seed in the tournament, which is completely fine. Last year was a little bit of a disappointment season. I wouldn't even call it a good season. I mean, we should have went to the Final Four. There was no reason why we shouldn't have. It was unfortunately Brandon Miller just didn't have a good game. It made me feel a little bit better that San Diego State was the team in the championship, but we should have beat them easily.
Yeah, they should have. I mean, what were they seeded? I believe they were a 9 seed.
Yeah.
So to lose to them in kind of heartbreaking fashion, it was Brandon Miller he didn't really show up in any of the tournament games. So he's showing up right now. He's doing seems to be doing well in the NBA.
He's all the talk in the NBA. Well, you know what? We talked about Alabama, but if you're going to talk about a rivalry, I feel like we need to talk about the Auburn Tigers. Bruce Pearl in his 10th year. I'm a big Alabama basketball fan. I'm not going to lie. I hate Auburn basketball, but I'm still going to give them credit when credit is due. He has made Auburn program into a good program. I know J-Dub's going to love to hear that when I give Auburn kudos. But, man, Bruce Pearl, do I think he's a better coach than Nate Oates? I'm going to be honest. No, I don't think he's a better coach than Nate Oates. X's and O's wise, no. But I think he's a heck of a motivator. I think he can make those players run through a brick wall. If it was somebody in the SEC, he is, to me, like the Ed Orgeron of SEC basketball. He can make anybody want to run through a brick wall. I think Bruce Pearl is the best players coach in the SEC.
Oh no, I would agree with that. He definitely knows how to hype some guys up. It's kind of fun seeing him get all angry and hyped up. Seeing his blood vessel popping and he's just going. He's passionate for sure, and he loves Auburn. He really does.
It was a match made in heaven. It was a match made in heaven.
And it's the expectation at Auburn is perfect for what he provides. And he has turned it around in the state. It turned Auburn into a little bit of a SEC powerhouse, and then that kind of forced Alabama to go after Nate Oates, and it's really turned the state into – it'll never be a basketball state, but it's really put some eyes on basketball when it always –
It'll never be as big as it is right now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It'll never be as big as it is right now.
Basketball was always in the back burner compared to football, even at Auburn too. And for it to have as many eyes on it right now as it does says a lot for sure. But Auburn this year, I do think that it'll probably be just very similar to last year. I think that they'll be good and put up good fights in some big games. But I don't see them really competing for a conference championship that closely. Now, they could run the table. I do think that any of those it usually seems like one of those bottom 6 teams that we kind of covered earlier kind of run the table a little bit, and they're a sleeper team. You said Missouri was it this past season. So Florida could go and be, like a 3rd seed in the SEC tournament or something like that. Auburn, it wouldn't surprise me if they do well, but I think they'll be kind of upper middle pack in the SEC this season.
Well, let me ask you, since we're on sleeper teams, who was your sleeper team this year? Like you said, last year Missouri. Who was Sweaty Boy's sleeper team this year?
It's so tough because it's tough to pay attention to them, but maybe Ole Miss. Maybe Florida.
Love Chris Beard. I love Chris Beard.
I like Chris Beard too. I think Ole Miss could be that interesting team, but it's all of those teams are just kind of we don't know much right now. That's for sure. So to pick one and be like, oh, they're going to be the number 4 seed in the tournament, or they're going to fight for a NCAA tournament spot. That's tough to pick one. Who do you have?
I would probably think the Bulldogs. I probably would go with the Bulldogs
Really?
and Mississippi State. I
Oh,
probably
Mississippi
would go.
State. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can see it. I mean, I've got them right ahead of Ole Miss. I've got them in my number 7 spots. So I could definitely see them as well.
I think them. One more
Well,
team
all
we need to
right.
talk about. We haven't gave them any credit. The Aggies of A&M. I think Buzz
We have
Williams is.
not.
I think Buzz Williams is a great coach. I remember when Bama played him in 2019 when we played them Virginia Tech in the second or the first round. First round, we beat them. I think Buzz is a really good coach. I think A&M's got the best player in the conference right now with that Wade Baldwin the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I really like A&M.
Yeah.
I really like A&M this year.
Yeah, getting him and you got Tyrese Radford and a couple other guys. I mean, yeah, they're going to be really good. I mean, in all honesty, they probably will win. I don't want to say probably, but odds probably point to them winning the SEC. I mean, Ken Palm's got them at 18-11, 10-8 in the SEC, which is better than what many other predictions, which is worse than what many other predictions have.
What does their non-conference look like for them to be 8? I'm looking it up. There's no way they're going to be 18-11. See, I can see them running the board in the SEC. Really, kind of like you said about Auburn. That's my team. I can see easily running it up.
Yeah, go ahead and pull up their schedule, see what they got.
They play at Ohio State. They play at SMU. They got Oral Roberts is not going to be good this year because of Max Abrams playing at Texas. They got Penn State at Texas A&M. They play at Virginia. That's going to be tough. Got Memphis at A&M. They do play at Houston. I don't see them losing.
Yeah, I really don't know. I'm looking at their non-conference as well, and the only ranked opponent that I see is Houston, number 7.
And Houston's never that good, in my opinion.
You know, you've got Memphis, who always plays tough. So yeah, I really don't know. I don't know if that's Ken Palm sleeping on the SEC a little bit. I'm really not sure. But yeah, I think Texas A&M. I'm right there with you. I think Buzz is a really good coach too, and he is like a freight train in the SEC. He seems to be getting better and better every year. So it would not surprise me if they run the table like you said either.
And you know, to bring to your point, you said Ken Palm maybe sleeping on the SEC. People think that, okay, the SEC, the South, they don't know basketball. I know we haven't won a championship since 2012. I personally think we have one of the best conferences in basketball. I think it's right up there with the ACC, in my opinion. I definitely we're better than the Big 12. We're better than the Big 10. Big 10 ain't nothing. I think we're better than Pac-12. I think it's us in the ACC.
Yeah, we just don't really seem to show up in the tournament. You know,
that's the only thing. I mean, and who does? I mean, you look at UConn, the Big East, whatever they are.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament. I mean, it just any big.
I mean, this
end
past
of season tournament, it's whoever's hottest.
You had UConn and San Diego State, and I think they were both non-powerful. Or
who the San Diego State? I want to say is Mountain West.
Mountain West. So, and if you really want to get into your Final Four, 3 of them. FAU, you had Mountain West, Conference whatever they was in at the time. It might have been USA at the time.
Yeah, it'll be definitely an interesting season for sure. I agree. I do think the SEC is right up there with some of the other top conferences in basketball. Just to run through one more time, my predictions, my top 14: Georgia, South Carolina, LSU, Vandy, Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Coming into the top 6, Auburn, Kentucky, A&M, Bama 3, Tennessee 2, Arkansas 1. Why don't you go ahead and reiterate yours, Cowboy?
14, South Carolina, 13, LSU, 12, Georgia, 11, Ole Miss, 10, Vanderbilt, 9, Florida, 8, Missouri, 7, Mississippi State. In the top 6, Auburn 6, 5, Kentucky, 4, Alabama, 3, Texas A&M, 2, Arkansas, 1, Tennessee. Y'all take a screenshot, all right? Y'all.
Yeah. See who gets this most correct, or see. It'll be interesting to see just how much these preseason predictions end up working, because a lot of times they really don't mean anything.
No, not at all.
But guys, we do appreciate you checking in, giving us a watch or a listen, whatever you're intaking this on, whether it's our podcast platform on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. We're working on getting on Spotify, so we're growing. And follow us on TikTok, heads.up.play, and Instagram, headsup_play. So we'd really appreciate it, guys. This was our SEC Hoops preview for 2023. We do appreciate it.
We'll see y'all later. And remember, you stay classy.